Bill Keating didn't just challenge Pete Hegseth, he demolished his entire argument. In under 5 minutes, he exposed the contradictions, the chaos, and the hypocrisy driving Trump's so-called America First defense team.
Chair, I recognize the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Keating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to take my time to react to the testimony already given. The 3 pillars that each of the witnesses and the Secretary highlighted. Pillar number 1, restore the warrior ethos. You know, I've had the privilege in this committee to see firsthand a special window of our troops, their courage, their tenacity, their commitment. You don't have to restore the warrior ethos, sir. It's already there. We've never lost it. Pillar 2, I just want to highlight something that is a concern. Pillar 2 is the border security issue. And among that, I'm really worried about the agreement with El Salvador that exists. I think it's very cloudy. We don't know exactly what they're getting in return for their commitment to house the hellhole prisons, in the hellhole prisons they have, people that are shipped there, transported there illegally. But there's problems with that. It violates the Constitution, number 1. It violates the First Step Act that President Trump paraded around and took so much credit for in his first term, he and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. It violates the Leahy Law, which prohibits federal money to be used for prisons of that type. It violates the Foreign Assistance and Transparency and Accountability Act that our Secretary of State was a proud sponsor of, that demands taxpayer accountability for monies, because all we know is the White House has said they've given El Salvador, given their strongman, Bukele, $6 million. But then they're holding another $15 million in international narcotics and control and law enforcement to the side for prospective use here. And of concern, too, is we're now transferring helicopters, military assets, to Bukele. We're giving him helicopters. And I'm concerned about that. Supposedly it's there for humanitarian reasons. It's being taken away from the Drug Control Task Force dealing with the fentanyl issue. And now it's there for humanitarian reasons in Bukele's control. And I'm just worried about going down the road here. I think there should be strict oversight of what they're getting from the U.S. If that's not there and there's dark money and dark assets being passed, we could have the makings of another Iran-Contra. Thirdly, the 3rd pillar, deterrence. And I look to what every expert militarily, from a security standpoint, said is the greatest deterrent that we have with China and Russia, and our greatest weakness if we lose it. And that's the war in Ukraine. If we fail to support Ukraine and Ukraine loses, that's a green light for China. That's just not my opinion. That's virtually every security expert. We have something China and Russia don't have. We have a coalition of 50 countries, 50, dealing together. They don't have anything near that. Yet, you've attacked that alliance. You said they're pathetic. You called them freeloaders. They have paid, and we want more money, and they're giving more money for their own defense, but they've given $199 billion towards Ukraine, more than the U.S., by the way. And they're not freeloaders when they came to our assistance at 9/11. They suffered thousands of casualties, several hundred deaths. They're young men and women, sacrificed to defend Article 5, the only time it was exercised for the United States. They're not freeloaders dealing with that. And yet today, you attacked one of them saying that now you've confirmed that the U.S. has plans in place to invade the territory of a founding member of NATO, Denmark. That's not being strength. That's not being strong. It's also chaotic. This is the chaos cabinet when it comes to Ukraine. Secretary of the Treasury, Putin is a war criminal. Trump's chief negotiator, Putin is trustworthy. He's not a bad guy. Secretary of State, Putin was a war criminal, I guess, but now he's not. He doesn't know. Trump says Ukraine was the aggressor. The Secretary of State says Russia was the aggressor. You, sir, the Secretary of Defense, said Russia was the aggressor. The chair of Joint Chiefs said yesterday that Putin would even stop at Ukraine. The Trump ambassador resigned because of this policy, and I think Vice President Vance said it best. He said he doesn't care what happens to Ukraine one way or the other. That is not strength. That is not using our coalition. That is not deterrence. You're wrong on all your pillars. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
Bill Keating didn't just question Pete Hegseth, he torched him. This wasn't a hearing, this was an unmasking. Hegseth came in selling this slick three-pillar pitch: restore the warrior ethos, secure the border, strengthen deterrence. Sounds noble, right? But Keating, he cut right through it, exposing the whole thing as hollow, reckless, and chaotic. First off, restore the warrior ethos? Keating reminds him, our troops never lost it. Their courage, their grit, their sense of duty, it's alive and well. What's really being restored is a political myth, one that paints the military as broken just so people like Hegseth can play savior. Then came Pillar 2, border security, and Keating went in. He called out this secretive deal with El Salvador's strongman, Nayib Bukele. The U.S. literally sending people to hellhole prisons overseas? That's not border policy, that's exporting human rights violations. And Keating laid it out plain. It's unconstitutional, it violates U.S. law, and it reeks of another Iran-Contra waiting to happen. Because when you start moving money, helicopters, and foreign assets in the dark without oversight, that's not security, that's chaos. And that's the theme here, chaos. When Keating hit the third pillar, deterrence, he didn't hold back. He said it straight. The greatest deterrent against Russia and China is unity. Our coalition of 50 nations, something Moscow and Beijing can only dream of. But instead of valuing that, Hegseth and company attack it, calling allies freeloaders. Keating fires back with the receipts. Those same allies have poured nearly $200 billion into Ukraine, more than the U.S. itself, and they bled with us after 9/11. They're not freeloaders, they're partners. They stood by America when it mattered. And then Keating hits them with the knockout. This is the Chaos Cabinet, a team that can't even agree on who the aggressor is in Ukraine. Trump's people contradicting each other left and right. Putin's a war criminal. No, wait, he's a good guy. Ukraine's the aggressor. No, Russia is. Confusion at the top, chaos in the ranks. Keating's point is bigger than politics. He's saying this isn't America first, it's America adrift. A movement so tangled in contradiction it can't tell friend from foe anymore. And if that's the cabinet of the future, then the future looks chaotic, divided, and dangerous. This moment wasn't just about Bill Keating taking down Pete Hegseth. It was about exposing what happens when ideology replaces integrity and loyalty replaces logic. That's the chaos Keating just revealed. That's what's at stake. If you're tired of the noise, hit that like button and subscribe to Left Lens. Because here, we don't just play the clips, we break them down, expose the truth, and put the power back where it belongs, with the people.